Hey, what's up y'all? So welcome back to another video. If you guys saw last week's video, we showed you how to properly fit your backpack for a backcountry hunt. If you didn't see it, I will put the link in the description down below so that you can check it out. It's a real quick one, maybe about a 5 or 6 minute video. This week what we're going to do is show you how to pack your backpack. So what I'm going to do, actually I'll back up here for a second. What I'm going to do is show you what I would pack or how I would pack for probably about a 5-day, maybe a 6-day hunt. So basically everything that you see here is going to go into here. If you're relatively new to backpack hunting, and not necessarily going in solo, but anyway, new to backpack hunting, there is definitely a method to the madness, and for multiple reasons. Number one is being comfort. So if you're going to pack in, there's a good probability that you're going in quite a ways. You want to be comfortable. You don't want to get a mile down the trail and all of a sudden you found out that your pack's hurting your shoulders, it's hurting your lower back, or whatever the case may be. So you want it to be comfortable. And the way that you load your pack is very dependent on that. So the other thing also is ease of access. What are you going to use first and what are you going to use last? So when I pack mine, I always try to keep both of those in mind. Also the load of how it could possibly shift or to keep it from shifting. So those are the three main things that you want to keep in mind whenever you're doing your pack. Now, that being said, there are multiple ways to do it. There are a lot of guys out there that do it somewhat similar that I've learned from, and then there are guys that do it completely different. So I think you kind of have to find a style that works for you. But the main thing is what you put where is pretty much Bible. All of us do it the same way because it works and it's comfortable and it keeps our loads from shifting. So with that being said, this year, like I told you in the previous video, I am running the Initial Ascent A4, which is perfect for being able to do a 5-day hunt, maybe even a 6-day hunt with everything that you need to take in. So I'm going to set this up here on the table and rearrange a little bit, and then we'll get started on how to load this thing. All right, so like I said, there is a method to the madness on how we do this. There are subtle changes that you can make, but the biggest one that I can tell you is that a lot of new people will get backwards. I know myself included, clear back in, 2004, 2005, one of my first packing trips that I did, I packed my pack all wrong. A lot of people are under the impression, like whenever you bag your groceries in a paper sack, you put the heavy stuff on the bottom. You don't do that with a backpack. It will be very uncomfortable. You will have all that weight down at the bottom and it will be pulling you back, and you do not want that. So what we're going to do is start with the softer, squishy stuff. That's going to go in the bottom of your pack, and then you just start building up. And then my heavier, more rigid stuff is going to go closer to the top. So the reason for that is balance and comfort. Do not put the heavy stuff on the bottom. And then we'll show you how to utilize all the different pockets. Obviously there's a lot of different packs, so different ones will have different pockets and different systems that you can use. So with mine, now one of the things that I do that may be a little bit different, I've seen other guys do it too. I've already got this broke down a little bit. And it depends on which tent that I'm going to take. I use this Kelty more than any of them because it's really lightweight. And actually in here too, I'll show you what else I have inside my tent pack just to reduce space. I also have my glassing pad. So if I'm going to sit for an extended period of time, it's something that just gives me a little bit more comfort, and I just put it in my tent bag. Now, what I do with my tent bag is I utilize my meat shelf for it. So I've got my bag loose here, and then I just set my tent right on the frame of it, and then put it back together. See if I can do this without knocking anything off of the table. No, I can't. So I put it back together and I've got my tent sitting in there, and it's completely out of the way. Once I start cinching everything down, with that being in the tent being in the meat shelf, I'm gonna be able to cinch it down so it's just like if I was hauling meat out, except obviously it's extremely light. One thing that I forgot to mention before you start doing any of this, unbuckle every buckle that you have on there, unless you have a modular pack and you don't need to take it loose from the frame. Don't take it loose from the frame, but everything that cinches down, loosen it up for whenever you start filling your pack. So that's the first thing that you want to do. So I've got that tent in between my frame and the bag. And so now what I'm going to do next is put the bag back on the frame, and then if you can see right here, I'm going to put my load lifters back in. Do not forget those, because you'll regret it if you do, or you'll know it if you do. You won't get very far. Especially if you've got any weight in there at all. So put your load lifters back in. Get those good to go. So now what we're going to do next is start filling this thing up. All right, so I got reset up here. So I've got a table to kind of hold this a little bit better. Like I said, we're going to start with the squishy stuff. So backpack. My sleeping bag would be the very first thing to go in. Now here's two options. I still have this in the stuff sack. I don't always use the stuff sack. In fact, I probably use it less than when I do than actually using it. But we'll go ahead and see how it fits in here. So that's going to go in the very bottom of the pack. And what you're trying to do is you're filling voids. So you just want to fill up every little nook and cranny in there so that you've got a good stable pack. And so obviously the bottom's full, but I feel I've got a little loose pocket over here. Also another reason for putting the sleeping bag in, it's gonna be the last thing that I use, so I don't have to have it right away. Next is my sleeping pad. Obviously I'll be using, same thing, I'll be using it last, and it's plenty soft, so I stuff it down there on the side, kind of next to it. And then after that, then I start utilizing some of my clothes. So when you're packing in, most people, you're already wearing one change of clothes that you'll wear while you're hunting. So whether that includes base layers, obviously it's going to depend on temperatures and weather. But you know, you've got your hunting boots on, you've got your merino wool socks on, jackets, pretty much every, whatever it is that you're going to wear. And whenever I'm going on a 5 or 6 day trip, I take one change of everything, and that's really about it, plus my rain gear and a puffy jacket, again, depending on temperatures. So one change of clothes, that stuff in there as well, socks. And I'll show you something else that I do as well. I used to put everything in dry bags. Now you can do that, but when the dry bags are utilized, they're going to be kind of like your sleeping bag, and they're already pre-formed. With these, I can stuff the clothes kind of down in there, but I'll show you here in a second. I still take dry bags with me, because once I get to where I'm going to camp, unless I'm moving a lot, when I take my clothes out of my backpack, now I'm putting in a dry bag so that they stay dry. And then it's also great for dirty clothes whenever you're done, so you're not just stuffing it all in your pack. So continue just to put more clothes down in. Base layers, so that's usually one of the first things I put in after my sleeping bag. Stuffing those in there as well. Obviously this video is not about the type of gear that we use. I did mention what backpack that we're using, but you guys probably know a lot of the gear that we're already using anyway. Oh, hey, here's another one too that you can utilize. Game bags. I take those on every hunt that I go on, obviously to help keep meat clean and to be able to hang it up to get air circulating around it. So you can utilize these to be able to stuff clothing down in as well. So those down in there. Then I I start getting into things that will go in the middle. So here's another one too. I've got some different freeze-dried meals. Most of these, all brands, are usually 2 servings, so half of a package. So what I do, I open these and then I put individual servings in a vacuum seal bag and vacuum seal them. And then they go in my pack. So I've got individual servings that way. Because once you get into camp, then you've got this open, what do you do? So I empty these out, vacuum seal them, and then I've got individual servings. Unless I plan on sharing with a buddy, but usually Lindsay or Mac have their own stuff with them as well. So that's usually the next thing that goes in. Get those in there. My dry bag will go in next, and then I'll utilize that once I get set up somewhere. Now I start getting, there's really not a lot of hard goods that I take that actually go in the main pack, my cooking system. So here's my fuel, and then my Camp Chef that I use. So that's going to go in there as well. Now, what's going to go in top of the bag are things that I'm going to utilize quite a bit. This one's probably the most important of anything that you can put in your pack. This is toilet paper and wet wipes. So you always want easy, quick access to this. So that is going in the top of my pack. And then the last 2 things, like I said, obviously depending on weather, my puffy jacket that you can just stuff right down in there. And this is the great thing that you could not do if you already put it in a dry bag, that you can stuff stuff around. And then the last thing that I usually put on top in my main compartment here is my rain gear. Obviously, I'm not wearing it in unless it's already raining. My other piece of rain gear. Yeah, so I've got the main compartment pretty much ready to go. My rain gear on top, so if it starts to rain as we're hiking in, I can stop and it's going to be very easy to get to. So now the next things are the different compartments or the different side pockets. So on this initial ascent, I've got some here. I've still got my lid to work with as well. So everything that goes in my lid is, or most of what is going to go in my lid is still over here. So let's go through that real quick. Oh, hey, here's another thing too, as I'm wrestling with this. One of the first things I usually put in is my bladder. On this initial ascent, you can put a 2-liter bladder on the inside of the lid, so it's easily accessible. I don't have to worry about filling it, but it's usually one of the very first things that I put in. Okay, so we are down to some of the final parts. You can see we got the main compartment nice and full. I don't have anything strapped down yet, but the next thing for me as a rifle hunter, I always take a Fix-It Sticks toolkit with me, and that along with with my cleaning stuff from Breakthrough, along with a way to clean it as well. I got my little kit here, and I usually just put all of that. Actually, put this in first. I usually just put that right in the one of the outside pockets. Like I said, every pack's a little bit different. Then we get into the lid. This particular one, and most backpacks are going to have, is going to have an area on the inside that may or may not be waterproof, but this is where I put my tags and my license and all that, and I'll either put in a little dry bag or a little Ziploc bag or something like that, and just put it in the same place every time. That's where this one is on this initial ascent pack. So now, all my stuff that's going to go in my lid, one of the first things is the rain fly. I've got my rain gear here on the top, so I want easy access to my rain fly for the pack. So I always put it on the top, and then that's my first aid kit. Usually goes right here on top as well. And then, I'll put gloves in there. It's nice and lightweight, so those can go in there. And then one of the other things that I do as well, I'm gonna set this back down. One of the other things is for my knives. I usually use another little dry bag. And so my knives, I usually have a multi-tool will go in there, and then all my spare batteries will go in there. So make sure you've got at least one backup battery for each of your electronics, including your binos. If you're using range-finding binos, I had those go out on me one year, literally as I was calling a bull elk in. So anyway, yeah, that wasn't fun. So that will go in the lid as well, along with my headlamp. So those are two things that you want in, or that you want easy access to. Get this back up here. So that's gonna go in my lid. My flashlight, my headlamp will go in there. And actually, so I would actually put this in my knife kit as well. So this is my sharpener. I use one from Work Sharp to keep my blade sharp as well. And then that's really about all I put in the lid itself. So that is ready to go. Then the next thing, actually, let me back that up. So I've got my whole box of ammo here. I don't typically carry a whole box of ammo. Obviously, I've got my magazine loaded, and then I use an ammo pouch that I believe holds 10 rounds in it. So that goes on here. It's a lot flatter and going to be a little bit lighter because I'm not taking a full box of 20 at least with me. I'll leave some more back in my truck just in case my scope gets knocked and I need to re-zero or something. But my ammo pouch usually will go in here, or I may just put it on the outside because if I have my magazine loaded, I'm good. So the last few things are going to be utilizing your side pouches. So your tripods will go here on the side. What I'll do, we'll pretend this is one of the tripods. I've got my hiking sticks. A lot of times whenever I'm first going out, I'll just use one of them. I don't need to use both, unless it's just, super steep terrain. So one of those will go in there. I've got my water bladder here, but I also carry a bottle with me also. This is one, actually we got this from the elk summit that we did in Montana with Ryan Lampers and those guys this past June. So that goes in there. And actually, also usually my tent poles go on the side as well. So I literally have everything that I take for 5 to 6 days in here, with the exception of maybe my snacks. I didn't put those in here. Those go in the lid as well. I eat a lot of snacks, so I love taking a lot of food. We take a lot of jerky that we've made from previous hunts, and stuff with high fat content, things like that. So those are usually going in here, or maybe in a bag with some of my actual meals too. So anyway, easy access to the snacks in there. And then one of the other things that I put on, let me turn this around for you. If you don't utilize one of these, whether it's a Garmin InReach, I use Zoleo, and I strap that usually right here to one of my shoulder straps, like so. That way I've got easy access to it. It has an emergency SOS button. If I fall, I break a leg, I get hurt somehow, get incapacitated, and I've got the ability to hit that SOS. So that's always there. Especially if you're doing solo, get one of these. It's well worth it. So, and then the very last thing, if you're a rifle hunter, actually, let's put this back on here. Go ahead and buckle this down so it doesn't do that to me again. The last thing that I'm going to put on here before I cinch everything down, of course, will be my rifle. All right, so I've got that turned over. Now the last thing that we're going to do, now this is an add-on for this particular pack, but I've got the rifle sling. Here, let's get this turned around, right? Your buttstock just goes right into. And pretty much all your packs are going to have the same type of strapping system. They may vary just a little bit, but these will be your final straps that you're going to buckle to hold your rifle in place. Snug that down. Just make sure that you're aware of where the straps are going across on your optic. You don't want to cinch it down so much that you torque your optic. Let's get this last one on here. There we go. All right, so I've got those snugged on there. Now, the last few things that we want to do is just check all of our straps, all of our different compression straps, make sure that we've got everything snugged down the way that it's supposed to be. And there are a lot of them whenever you've got a pack this size. So these are to strap down my lid. Even here on the inside, pulling that down nice and, not my load lifters, but anyway, so now I've got the lid good and snug. I've got all my straps good and snug. The rifle looks like it is snug on there as well. We're getting ready to find out. So I think we're good to go. There we go. So just like I showed you in the video last week, same thing, buckle here, shoulders are back, so these are the shoulder straps. I don't think I really need to do too much to those. I got my chest strap. Just want it snug, not too tight. And then, last one here if I can find them, my load lifters. Yeah, those are actually a little uneven. And everything is strapped down. We're ready to go hunting. So that's how I pack my pack. A lot of other guys do theirs pretty much the same way, but the main thing is just remember, don't put your heavy stuff on the bottom. You want to keep it balanced. You don't want it in so tight at the top where it's pushing you over, and you don't want it too loose in the back where it's pulling you back either. You want about 80% here on your hips, the other 20% here. You guys are ready to rock and roll. Hope you guys have a fantastic hunting season, and I'll see you all on the next video.